2.
Welcome to the Policy Subcommittee meeting. We are at the George M. Romm Little Theater at Brockton High School, 470 Forest Ave, Brockton, Mass. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. In addition to attending, the public can view this meeting via television on Comcast Channel 8 and on 1071 HD version and online via this link, www.youtube.com/TheBrocktonChannels. Item 1 is to call this meeting to order. If we could all rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, establish a quorum. A roll call, Judy Sullivan,
Yeah.
Claudio Gomes,
Here.
Jorge Vega,
Here.
Ana Gomes, yes,
Here. You guys keep giving me the
Gomes.
wrong last name.
Joyce Azak,
Here.
and Tim Sullivan, I am here as well. Item 4, discussion on policy, BPS student handbooks, student and parent handbooks, 2024 and 2025. Priya, did you want to take this? Is this going right to Sharon? Good evening.
Good evening. And I'll have Jamie come up as well. I just wanted to acknowledge, and I see that some of you did not actually get the email that I sent to you. Others are here on it with the corrections that we made to hopefully eliminate some of the minor edits that you might have seen in the other handbooks. For example, the date change that Mr. Sullivan pointed out with the calendars, that will be fixed in all of the books. So if you noticed that the calendar looked the same in every book, the edits have been made for that, as well as the other edits that were connected to the addendums that, or the handouts that came with it, with some other, where we adopted information from other schools, that's also been changed. So the corrections that I sent to you for the Brockton High School handbook does have the new policy in it. The ones that you voted on in March, that is also included in that handbook. As for the other handbooks that we're going to discuss tonight, there were far fewer edits, and Dr. LaBilwa is here to go over any of the other questions you might have related to it. And so we'll make sure that we make any changes that you want to see made in those handbooks before they go to the translators to be translated. That is a work in progress right now. We're ready to go. And so once you've made your decisions, we can make those edits, get it to our translators so that we can get them online for the start of school.
One question,
Yes.
Mrs. Wald, the date changes and the corrections we made on the Brockton High School, did you go through everything and change the dates and stuff?
So where you saw that the date was wrong, what was placed into the handbook was the calendar dates that you all voted on in terms of what holidays
Right,
would be.
right.
And at the bottom of that, somehow, instead of the date you actually made the vote, the date, I think the anticipated date of the handbooks was placed there instead. And so on all of the handbooks, that date has been corrected.
I was just, was everything else proofread by somebody?
We're going through it line by line. Jerry, who's actually here tonight, she didn't want me to call her out because I said, if they ask me questions about the handbooks, you have now looked at them so thoroughly, I'll let you answer them. She said, please don't do that. But Jerry is going book by book and making sure grammatical, spelling, all of that is checked, and then making sure that the information that we discussed the last time we were here, we've targeted Brockton High School handbook, but some of that information is in every handbook, and so she's making sure those changes are made in every handbook.
Okay. Anybody have any questions before, Ms. Azak?
It's not so much a question. It was brought to our attention that there's some technical difficulties as far as hearing this on BCA. So they're working on it. For those that are watching, obviously if it's recording, they can go back and watch this, rather than take a short recess. I believe, I just checked with them, they're working on it.
Okay. That, everybody's working on it up there?
He's currently escalating it to his superiors now, so they're checking, they're testing to see what they can do.
Okay.
That's correct. They are recording, the audio is working, they're recording, so they'll go back and upload it afterwards.
Okay. Anna, Judy? Go ahead, Judy.
Okay. I was just wondering, were we able to, so I didn't get the email. You said there was an email.
So I'm looking because you're on here.
Oh, did you just send
It was, no, I sent it to all of you. I apologize, it came at 12:17 a.m. on the 16th. And so, and I'm looking, and Jorge's was the only one that kicked back to me, so I have to make sure I forward it to him. I know where the love is. But it's right here, we're on the same committee for something else. I would never leave you out, of course.
I'm gonna have to check. When was it sent?
But it was to your BPS email, so if those aren't the emails you typically work
No, I
from,
see those every day.
okay.
Yep.
I will forward it to all of you again, but
Okay.
Jorge's is the only one that kicked back. The rest of you are on here, so.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't get it. It
Anna?
was the changes that, well, I wasn't done yet.
Okay, go
What was
ahead.
the changes that we had made? Is that what was on it?
So I can tell you what it says, if that's helpful.
Oh, no, you don't have to do that. I'll
Okay.
look at it.
All right.
But was it the cell phone changes that we?
The cell phone policy changes there. We did connect with Linda Cahill regarding the albuterol question that was raised, in that it's very clearly, it has to be prescribed by a doctor. It's administered by the nurses at the elementary level. If the student is old enough to carry it, they make them administer it in their presence first, so they can make sure it's being done correctly, and then the students carry the albuterol inhalers. So the schools don't have them to give where they feel it's needed. The student does have to have a prescription from a doctor, and it has to be monitored by the school nurses.
So the cell phone policy, back to that.
Yes.
Does it have a thing in there that says if they destroy the Yonder bag?
That there's a fee for it, yes.
Okay. And then on the, we were talking about the laptops to have a fee if they're destroyed, if they destroy the laptops, so it can kind of go hand in hand with the Yonder bags, I think would be good.
So if you recall, back months ago, we brought that before you, and it didn't move forward at that time. But it's something that I think you want to make sure is on your list of policies that you want to, at a very early in the school year policy meeting, make a decision about that, so it's not just in the Brockton High Handbook, but it's a district-wide policy, and that way
Okay.
we can make that known, and if an addendum is needed, we'll make the addendum, but we'll certainly communicate that out to folks that that is
Okay.
the choice, the policy of the school committee.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Sure.
Anna?
Just to clarify the inhaler order, right? Because it's under standing order, so I don't know if they want to change it to it needs a prescription, because under standing order, my understanding is the physician that works with the school district has signed off that those medication will always be hand-ready for in case of a student needs it.
Okay.
So maybe they need to take it off there and just basically put it somewhere else that you need prescription. And I know, like, usually we have to make sure that the student is able to use it on their own properly, especially with the chamber, before they even be able to carry anywhere in school with it.
Right.
Because some of them do misuse it for the wrong reason, so just to make sure that's always safe.
Yeah.
The only statement I have, I like the fact that the vaping was added to the middle school. The only question I do have, what is the Saturday class detail? Like, what is it all, like, is that something that parents have to agree to it? Or is it basically automatically, if you're caught so many times with the illegal, substance, vaping, it's a mandatory thing on Saturday?
So Saturday interventions are assigned by the school. We have had parents say that because of religious reasons, some people say, I can't do Saturday, and so we have to find alternative interventions for students, but it is assigned by the school based on whatever the behavior is that leads to that intervention. We have done a lot of work with Saturday work to make sure that we are really targeting SEL and focusing on choice and making wise choices and really helping students understand what they're doing and how it's impacting them, not just at school, but in life in general. And so it went from what it used to be was you come in, and some of you, I'm hoping, didn't have this experience as students there, but if you went to Saturday work, you might find yourself cleaning a cafeteria years ago, long before people were really thinking about the hygiene of things. There used to be a scraping the gum off the bottom of the tables. We stopped that long ago, so please don't assume that they're doing any of that anymore and haven't for a very long time. But Saturday work was really that kind of community service, kind of clean up something. We have moved. It didn't change behaviors. It's like it's supposed to be, so this is a waste of time and I'm mad about it, so I'll never get in trouble and have to go to Saturday work again. It didn't quite work out that way, and so as we start to really adapt the way we think about interventions and supporting students, we really have done a lot of work with the Character Strong curriculum and making sure that people are working with students about what's going on with them to help them identify why they're making the choices that they're making and how to make better choices. And so that's how those Saturdays are spent. We do have curriculum on vaping. I'm saying all of this. Jamie is sitting here looking at me. So at some point I'm going to say, and what did I miss, Jamie? Because this really is work that comes out of Unified Services, and with a number of the leaders there really supporting teaching and learning, building that curriculum and using that time as wisely as we can to really shape students' thinking about school and self.
Thank you. That's a great program. Just a quick thing. Do we have any, start of the school year, an assembly that our nurses will do for the whole school to go over substance abuse, vaping, the dangers of it, and how, preventions?
So our nurses don't do that, but it's built into our health curriculum. So health classes across the district at every grade level, age appropriate, have lessons, and it's really built into the curriculum. And we can, when we have a curriculum subcommittee meeting, I would love to have our director of health come in and really talk about that and talk about some of the partnerships that we have. If you recall, toward the end of the year, some of our community partners came in and they did a broader presentation about some of the work happening at Brockton High School with students, but there is work across the district regarding vaping, smoking, substance abuse. It really is a wide range within that curriculum to really make sure we are targeting every student and getting some things in. I value assemblies. I also have been the deliverer of information at assemblies, and the impact of having a bunch of peers with peers. They might be quiet and respectful. It doesn't mean they're getting it. And so to be in those smaller classes with teachers who know you and teachers who really see you and work with you every day, to be able to really drill in and deliver that message and give you that safe space to ask questions is the approach that we've taken with making sure we are informing students and trying to help educate them about the dangers of those things and the fact that they have access to so many things now that changed when laws changed, helping them to understand just because adults can access those things, it doesn't mean it's right for kids.
Thank you.
Jorge, and then Judy. Jorge?
First, I just want to say thank you. You and your team gave us the time we needed to look at the handbook. I know it's a particularly stressful time to not move forward, and I just wanted to say I didn't really read for typos. I'm not good at that, but I read for policy. I read for, and nothing that I read feels any different than than the handbooks that I've read for schools that I've been a part of and other schools. And when it was different, it was appropriately different, given the scale and the differences with the BPS system. So I just want to thank you for the time and thank you for the work and thought that went into this. I don't really have any critique or any feedback on the policies. They're just solid, good school stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy?
So just back to Anna's question on the vaping. Now, so you said that the health curriculum covers the smoking and the vaping. Does that in the elementary too?
The health curriculum, there are things related to vaping, things that kids have access to, but they do it in a way that's age appropriate. So the way you would talk to an older student about it, you wouldn't necessarily talk to a younger student in the same way. And so they really do work to make sure that the curriculum is age appropriate. What I can tell you is kids have access to things at much younger ages. And so where you might be surprised, we are no longer surprised, because if it's in a home, a child could end up with access to it and bring it to school and not necessarily know what to do with it, but would have it in their possession. And so the assistant principals, adjustment counselors, there's a range of people in schools that have had to address issues where kids have had access to things, little kids have had access to things that they brought into the building. Sometimes they hand it over because it just is, and sometimes they've shown it like show and tell, and another child says something, and so people are addressing things at ages that seem younger to us, but understanding that access is very different now, that we have to shift in the way in which we really approach things. And Jamie, I don't know if you want to add any to that. I think our adjustment counselors are phenomenal when these things happen with younger kids, really getting them in, working with families, working with the children, and building in that support system. So it's a team effort to educate kids about the things that they really need to understand before they make choices.
So is it listed in the, I know Anna just said it was added to the middle school, the vaping. So does it say that in the elementary one, like no smoking, no vaping?
I think it probably really outlines, and I don't know, I don't have it right in front of me, but the nose
I know, I don't know what
is
page
a little
it's on right
different
now, so-
with elementary. And again, it's more, if something happens, it's more intervention with elementary. We start to really call things out at the middle and high school level, because repeated behaviors and behaviors you see repeated with an individual or with different students needs to be outlined in a different way than if an elementary child does something. That learning opportunity that is there for them, it doesn't just become a suspension or something punitive, but it certainly is the expectation that they're not bringing those things to school or using
So
them.
we talk about it with the kids at the elementary level and the dangers of it,
Absolutely,
smoking and vaping.
yes.
But in middle school, we address it in the handbook. And
In
high
middle school, it's in the handbook, and I don't have the handbook in front of me, so It's in here. Okay,
Sorry, page
Okay.
51
On the middle school?
in the elementary.
elementary, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, 51? Thank you.
51.
All right. Oh, yeah,
Any other
Thank you.
questions or comments?
thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Walder. So rather than go through each one individually, I just assume anything that was repetitive, whether it was the calendar or different documents that are from one school to another, the
Yes.
same document used in all the I'm assuming they were all automatically changed.
That's,
They were revised, updated.
that is correct,
The only
yes.
thing is, I know we have the Yonder bags for the Brockton High, but do we have them for Edison Day and Champion Day? And are they under the same cell phone, or will it be something they'll be looking into? I mean, we should be uniform across the board. If you're at this age level, a policy is a policy. Maybe something we need to revisit down the road, but for now, starting the 24-25 school year, it's just for the high school. Their cell phone policy is still a little different. Okay.
And I think that's all we budgeted for too. If when we think back at how much it took for us to get those bags for the high school, we were focused on where the largest group of students were, and so financially it was. We'll start with the high school. I'm certain the principal of Promise actually had offered to pilot it because I think she went with you on that trip when you went to Springfield to see how it rolls out elsewhere and had offered to pilot it. And so the idea of us coming back to reviewing that policy, and I think once you start getting some data from the high school, once they implement the policy and you start getting some feedback on what edits you want to make to the policy, or if you want to expand the policy, I think it's the conversation, it's the next step in the conversation, but we have to do it timely so that it can be budgeted.
Definitely. The high school was dealing with a large number of students, whereas some of these programs that we have, I think they're able to control things a little easier, given the size of the schools or the locations that they're at.
I agree.
Whereas here, we're really, when you look at Brockton High, it's a college campus. Even though it's a high school, you have 4 buildings. So, no, perfect. I just wanted to make sure, because I don't ever remember discussing that for any of the other programs, for the older students. And someone had asked me, and I said, I'll look into it. I'll ask. I don't remember discussing that, but let's see how things go with the high school. We haven't really gotten many calls for the smaller locations and other programs with the older students. But so I think that was it. And I just I flipped through the different handbooks, and I just assumed one change is going to reflect in all of them because it was pretty repetitive. It was the same document. So I don't have any other specific questions on them.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
I just wanted to announce that Dr. Priya Talahani is with us as well, the superintendent of schools. Sorry I missed you. And Deputy Wald, I just wanted to add one thing. I can't find it now, but there was a different superintendent listed in here.
Okay. We will make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's a,
Okay.
I read it and I can't find it now. It's in here.
Was it in one of the letterheads, or was it in some other part? I know you can't find it, but you might remember kind of what the context was.
Well, I see the letterheads with Dr. Talahani on
Yeah.
it, but I don't remember seeing, it was in
All
the
right,
North
you know
place.
what, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's in
So
there
you
somewhere.
said it's in there, we'll find it.
Okay.
We'll
Any
do a
other
word
questions?
search and we'll make sure we find it and correct it.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Azak?
Thank you. It's more of a question. So will the students be getting these printed, or is it emailed? Once the handbooks are approved, they've been updated, they've been translated to different languages. Are we giving them an actual physical paper copy? Because I believe the parents have to sign off that they've received it and they acknowledge receipt. So is it a paper or is it an electronic copy?
It's electronic, and there is an electronic sign-off. What we have done, it can be emailed to people, it's online. We send a message out that it's online, and we need those sign-offs, and then schools send messages to make sure that those sign-offs are done. We moved away from printing in mass simply for financial reasons, and at the end of the year, we had schools that were throwing away hundreds of leftover handbooks because we have to redo them every year. And so what we will end up doing, so that every school has some, we do tend to have either the high school print them, and because it's so late, we might have to print them another way, but just to have at least hard copies on site at the schools in case someone needs it that way. But we no longer, and we haven't for a while, given out an individual copy and translated copy to every student for the last couple of years.
Okay, I do know, I believe since during COVID and things like that, we started doing a lot of the electronics electronically. I just know some families might not have the access. So if they do want a hard copy, they can always request it from the school directly. the
And
school
that's
can
why
make
we
that
want to make
available.
sure there's at least a few hard copies, and if nothing else, it's not that dense, somebody could print it for them.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Sullivan?
Oh, just a comment on the printing of them. I know when families have it in their hand, it's more apt to look at it, and some are computer. I mean, I know we have to be mindful of the budget. So, I don't know. I just think that if it's a hard copy, that they'll look at it more. And I don't know. Some people read things better if they're a hard copy, but some people like it better electronically. So I guess we have a few copies at each school.
We'll make sure that there are a few copies and translated copies at every school, yes.
Right, because some people would rather read it online anyway. So, I don't know. But, thank you.
Any, Mr. Vega?
I just want to just acknowledge that what we're discussing and what Ms. Walder has described is in total alignment with what schools do throughout this Commonwealth and throughout the state. So we're in good alignment with what other folks are doing.
I just wanted to announce that the Mayor, Robert F. Sullivan, is here as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Nothing? All set? Jamie,
Okay.
you got it? You coming up?
So,
They already talked about it.
Dr. LeBeau, I would just go over the summarized policies. They already voted on them, so I'm not sure. You have new ones? Oh, the civil rights, yes. So those of you who got the email, it did indicate that we were going to ask that you schedule another meeting that would reflect the civil rights policies, the changes that we have to make that the attorney provided for Dr. LeBeau last week. And so those are also policy, and it's not just the handbook policy, but policy in general. And so very early on, if not next week, very soon, we would need you to have another policy subcommittee meeting to get that voted on. And I'll just ask him to kind of go over some of those changes so you know what to anticipate.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So just relative to Ms. Walder's statement, on August 1st, 2024, the new regulations for Title IX, which is a federal protection relative to the prevention of discrimination or harassment relative to gender, took effect across the country. There are 15 states who have filed legislation to block the implementation of those new regulations. Massachusetts is not one of those states, however. So Josh Coleman, through our partnership through Student Unified Services with Murphy Lemire Murphy, looked at the MASC recommended policies. And so what I will do is, so just you have time ahead of the next meeting, we worked on those today. And what we did was we took your existing policy, for example, AAC, non-discrimination, and then I changed all of the suggested edits that the attorney has sent me. So you're going to be looking at a new non-discrimination policy, a new policy on the non-discrimination on the basis of sex, a new sexual harassment / assault policy, as well as regulations that then pertain to all of those policies. What we will do, just so the committee is clear, once those committees are passed, depending on where we are with the translation of handbooks, we will do a one-for-one insertion and switch them out. Or if we've already, depending on the timing, if they've already gone to print, we will print an addendum to the handbook. Those policies will also be necessary for all of our staff training, as well as our sign-offs from our staff and acknowledgement of receipt and understanding of said policies. I will also note that DESE is coming on site the first week of December for our tiered focus monitoring on civil rights. And so I'm trying working very diligently to ensure we are in full compliance ahead of that visit. As you know, we have significant work to do ahead of us, and let's sort of get that taken care of now as proactively as we can. So that's just to give context. And I did hear the feedback last time relative to people receiving those edits sooner. So I'll work tomorrow with our interim superintendent to ensure the committee receives those drafts so you can read them well in advance. And again, you'll notice they're redlined, and they're redlined against what your policy was versus what the recommendation is.
How much time do you think you'll need?
I'm sorry, one more time?
How much time do you think you'll need on those changes?
It really dependent on the committee's questions. I would say no more than half an hour total.
We were talking earlier, we have 2 meetings already next Tuesday? Yeah,
Yeah, we have a safety, traffic and transportation, and then we have a facilities, just to get updates. If you feel that you would have enough time to get that to the superintendent's office as they prepare our packets, is it a lot to review, Dr. Labois, or? Because we could always move it to the next meeting
So
in
to be
September.
fair, I would say it is, to be fair. Because I think particularly relative to the Title IX, that policy on its own is about 15 pages, right? So it's what I've tried to do is show you where those changes occurred. Right, so that's where that red line version might be helpful in your review, but there's also a new set of regulations on reporting that are recommended based on those revisions for non-discrimination. So that's a whole new policy that we're proposing the committee consider adopting, and that will not have any red line. So that'll just be a new proposal. And again, the sources are from MASC, based on the August 1 implementation of the Title IX regulations. Because if you do choose to sort of go to the first meeting in September, I'm happy to give you those policies sooner than later. And that way, if there's any individual questions, you're more than welcome to reach out. I'm happy to connect with you, make any edits or adjustments as necessary, so that when you do sit down formally, as many questions as possible can be answered as early and as timely as possible, so the meeting can be more efficient.
The first meeting in September is first day of school. Is that too late?
No, I think what we would do, as I mentioned, is a Plan B backup, because I would imagine by that point the handbooks will be out. What we will do is we will publish an addendum, just so it's clear that those have changed and here are the new changes.
Mr. Vega?
Dr. Luby, are you talking about the CRDC report when you refer to the report, or?
No, that's through the federal U.S. Office of Civil Rights, to the Federal Department of Education.
Okay.
Our Department of Elementary and Secondary Education also oversees the implementation of civil rights policies, and they generally will sort of extend their purview and oversight into English language learner education, special education, and civil rights as specific program areas for oversight and compliance monitoring.
How often does that report?
Every 3 years.
Every 3 years?
Yep.
Are there any, and I don't know if this would be something you'd have, are there any standouts from the last time we reported out? Was there anything of note that we've worked in the last 3 years to address?
Bullying.
Okay.
That's right. The updating of our bullying plan. The committee, maybe a year and a half ago since from now, did revote that policy, and that was all based on feedback from the last TFM prior to my arrival, maybe 2022, was it? Biannual or biennial, every second year. But we have to update our plan every year. So our bullying intervention plan is updated and consistent with the regulation, but the policy itself is every 2-year vote. So you just voted it in the end of, I want to say, 23. Wasn't it just last year? I'd have to go back and double check, but I will make sure we are compliant.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Confirm, yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So just for timing, if we meet September 4 as a full committee, we should have a subcommittee meeting prior to that meeting so we could ratify it in the full committee meeting on the 4th. Because if we did it next Tuesday, we'd have to call a special.
Right, okay. What do you think, 5:30, 5 o'clock?
I think Doctor said about a half hour to review it, so we'll be back, we'll be back to 7 o'clock, right? Yeah, we come out of summer session, we'll be back to 7 o'clock, so 6:15, 6:30.
Perfect.
Well,
And
you'll be
again,
back
I'll
in
make sure
school?
you get it in advance so that you can review.
If it's on a Tuesday, it should be fine.
Okay. That's right.
That's what I thought. I heard Wednesday. I was like,
Yeah,
The
yeah.
4th.
Wednesday is a no-go.
6:30?
But if you guys have a requirement, you guys can.
Can you come in by Zoom, Claudio?
I could try to join virtually, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I wish. I have my clinicals.
Yeah,
on.
September 4.
That's the first day of school, Anna.
So that's a 7 o'clock meeting, Mr. Chair. Yeah, you and me both. So why don't we call it for 6? That would give us, more than a half hour time.
Yep, okay.
And then we'd be able to check with IT to make sure.
I got
Zoom-
6 and 7.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. LeBlanc, before you leave,
Sure, of course.
6 o'clock.
and Deputy Wall, I'm wondering, what do we need, approval of the notes right now to move it to the from the subcommittee to the regular?
Yeah, favorable recommendation.
To vote on all of the handbooks that you did, the rest of the handbooks, which is all of them but VHS.
So it would be just a favorable vote here, and then move it to the regular?
Yes.
And I'm not sure whether or not you need to vote on the changes that I included in the email that outline behaviors. It just looks different from what you voted on originally,
Right.
but it really highlights some of those behaviors that are disruptive to work. Sorry, I couldn't. So in the email that I sent to you was it indicated that the Brockton High School handbook does have the cell phone policy, which you voted knowing that that was going in. But there were also some other changes that the high school asked for, which took out the language of you get 7 demerits for this and 7 demerits for that, and aligned it with the way the school is structured now, because they have a behavior specialist in the office, and so it actually opens them up to address behaviors, every behavior sooner versus tallying them up through demerits and waiting until somebody has multiple behaviors. And so that language is different in that the version of the handbook that I sent to you last week versus the one that you saw for the policy subcommittee. They finalized that language and really wanted it to read that way, so it reflects the work that they're actually going to be doing versus the way work used to be done.
Okay, thank you.
So that might require that you vote on those changes, and then the other, that we just need you to vote yes on the other handbooks. We'll catch wherever that name was wrong and fix that, and all the other edits from our meeting last time are already in progress.
Okay. I understand it as we need 2 motions?
Yes, 2.
We need a motion for, the first one is to accept the changes that Deputy Walter was talking about, she made in the high school. Ms. Oliver?
Yeah. Motion to propose changes to the Brockton High School handbook, currently discussed and also sent via email on August 16 at 12 a.m.
We're just going to vote on a favorable, because it's going to be
Second.
moved to the regular. Okay, that motion has been made and properly seconded by Claudio. All in favor by a show of hands? Motion carries unanimous. Now we need the second motion.
Motion to approve the handbooks for elementary, middle, Edison Day, Huntington Therapeutic, Edison Evening, and Champion High School.
Is that all of them?
Yep. Wait a minute. Yep, I said middle and elementary, yeah, that's it. Elementary, middle, Champion High, Brockton Therapeutic Day, and Edison Evening.
Okay, we need a second.
Second.
A motion has been made by Judy Sullivan, seconded by Anna Oliver. By a show of hands, all in favor? It's unanimous, it's moved favorable to the regular school committee meeting. Item 5, other business, any other business? Hearing, Ms. Azak?
Just clarification, under other business, do we have a policy meeting next week? Or is it the
The week after,
It's the
the
week
4th.
week after? Okay, so we
The
don't
4th.
have one next week?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Item 6, Jorge, before 6, you made it.
Just as an item, I brought this up before, for our next policy meeting, if there could be some time for discussion about which subcommittees need to be policies of the whole, I'm sorry, committees of the whole versus, traditional subcommittees that are less than quorum. I think there's room for greater efficiencies and the opportunity to do some important work at a scale that we can't do as a whole. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Just point of information, the vice chair's on vacation this week, I'm on vacation next week, but we've already talked about that, so we will put that on the agenda for the policy. We got to get back to the way that we originally had it. It is much more concise, and I concur with that, so it will be on the next agenda.
On
Thank
the
you,
4th?
appreciate that.
Correct, on the
Acceptable?
4th,
Okay.
correct.
Any other questions or comments?
Just had a comment on
Ms. Sullivan?
the subcommittees. I think we have to get back to, like, accounts especially. We should be looking at accounts and have an accounts meeting. So, I know we haven't had that, and we should be having that. We should be looking, that's a subcommittee meeting, accounts, and we see where the money's being spent. Yep. Just, we should have that coming up within, within the month or so.
We can talk about that at the regular meeting, Judy.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Item 6 is the adjournment. We need a
Motion to
motion.
adjourn.
Karen?
We need a
Second.
second. A motion is made by Joyce Azak, seconded by Anna Oliver. All in favor by a show of hands? Meeting adjourned.